grounded jets, dark substations, a toxic blaze rolling through a $6.5 billion complex. If that's the end state, what chain of decisions gets you there in exactly 1.2 seconds? You're in the right video. We'll reverse the timeline, from the immediate production hit to Agodol 100, the additive that prevents jet fuel from freezing, back to 4 strike drones, 4 decoys, and a warhead designed to punch steel and ignite aged fuel. Learn how the swarm adapted after jamming blinded 7 drones, and why a human override at Kiev mattered when sensors went black. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. If 3 out of every 10 jets never leave the tarmac, you don't start with pilots or engines. You look for a single valve in the system that everyone forgot to harden. Ground crews can load weapons and swap tires all day, but if the fuel spec slips, the sortie board turns into a wall of red. That's where the morning started. Lines of aircraft waiting for fuel that met cold weather standards, while dispatchers flagged rail manifests marked "Hold." A production gap on a specialty additive nudged the whole machine off balance, and the effects spread faster than any air raid warning. The defense network on paper looked fine. Electronic warfare bubbles mapped the corridor. Radar and C4 nodes had overlap. Point defenses stood layered with guns and missiles. Yet the collapse showed up in schedules, not on radar scopes. Trains carrying aviation fuel missed handoffs at marshalling yards. Depot managers rationed drum counts to squadrons. Maintenance chiefs logged fuel quality as a cause for delays, then stacked airframes in hangars to keep hours off engines that couldn't be flown anyway. The network caught drones. It didn't catch the hit that mattered. That additive is built for Arctic and high-altitude work. Jet fuel without it thickens at cruise and throws off pumps and filters when the temperature sinks. With it, the kerosene stays within flow specs, and turbines keep a steady burn at -40. Lose it, and ground crews pull samples that fail, then tag fuel trucks out of service. Crews hold aircraft for inspections tied to fuel system stress. Operations shift from planned missions to triage flights with limited range windows. A small bottleneck in blending becomes thousands of delayed starts. Timeline matters. Day 1. Production dips, and depots burn through buffer stock faster than planned. By day 3, rail consignments intended to top off forward bases slip a cycle, while yard controllers reshuffle manifests to keep ground units moving. Week 1 closes with bottlenecks at 2 junctions that feed Siberian bases. Week 2, training units start cutting sorties to preserve clean batches for alert squadrons. By week 3, availability dives at cold weather bases. Aircraft that could fly on paper sight because the fuel they need exists only on forms, not in tanks. There's a bill for fighting decoys too. Interceptors scramble. Cannons fire. Missile crews log launch after launch. Those costs hurt, but the bigger hit arrives in hours you can't get back. When you burn through stocks to chase cheap targets, refills lag, and the jets that didn't fire a shot still lose flight time to fuel rationing. The ledger shows what the hangar floor already knows. The money isn't gone in interceptors. It's gone in grounded airframes. In the Eastern Military District, training flights dropped first. Ferry missions slipped to the right, pushing overhaul schedules and pilot rotations out of sync. Long rail lines that depend on airborne eyes saw ISR coverage thin, which forced more conservative movement plans for fuel trains and spare parts. Every delay fed the next, and staff officers stopped asking for extra sorties because they knew the answer. All of it tracked back to one facility that tied refining output to additive blending. Redundancy covered pipelines and storage, not the chemical process that kept the fuel usable in freezing conditions. When that node went down, alternate routing didn't fix the chemistry. Stocks ran, valves opened, and the numbers still failed. The fleet didn't lose a duel in the sky. It lost a process on the ground. So we roll the clock back to 3:19 a.m., when 8 dots slipped onto a screen and a chain reaction started with a target list that measured in seconds, not miles. Kiev, 3:19 a.m. A wall of screens shows 8 returns crawling in low and fast. 4 carry real payloads. 4 exist to soak fire. They ride a valley of noise where cell towers, truck radios, and cheap Wi-Fi spill RF into the night. The corridor looks open, then the Kasuka 4 system lights up. A wide jamming wave hammers the band. 7 feeds vanish. The swarm link flickers. On an outer arc, a 30mm burst clips a wing and shears off an aileron. Another drone's infrared camera floods with thermal clutter from a drifting flare cloud and hot exhaust, blinding the scene. For a beat, the whole strike wobbles. The recovery starts with a rule set built for exactly this mess. Ghost mode. Each drone drifts its signal down into the background and mimics the neighborhood. Cell tower handshakes, microwaves, and commercial rigs talking over CB. The AI trims control updates, lengthens the loop, and stabilizes on inertial data. Noise becomes camouflage. Flight paths restitch, not by perfect vision, but by prediction and dead reckoning. Timing markers slide a few seconds, then lock. The salvo cue reappears on the ops display. Decoys move first. 2 peel up in a hard scissor, crossing beams to confuse the tracking computer. They flash transponders and throw a clean radar return. The Panzer battery takes the bait. 2 57E6 missiles kick off the rails, chasing the higher, brighter target. The weave steals guidance time and forces a seeker head to hunt. That buys the gap. Down low, the real strike vector stays cold, throttles flat, EM quiet, hugging a fence line that hides in ground clutter. 1 strike drone remains blind on IR. The operator steps in, human in the loop, and kills the failed sensor stack. He flips to a pre-planned GPS point that was loaded for a no-comm scenario. The bird takes the new instruction and holds the timing chain. Another operator compensates for the damaged airframe, feeds micro inputs to keep the wing level, and keeps it inside the envelope long enough to matter. Warheads fit the job. Each strike drone carries a 110-pound shaped charge built for the Monroe effect. A focused jet of superheated copper tuned to punch quarter-inch steel. Velocity and heat do the work. The aim is not a crater in the dirt. It is a narrow lance through tank skin and mixing hardware, dumping molten metal into aged fuel and feedstock. The checklist on screen is simple. Pierce, ignite, deny recovery. The clock starts. Target 1 is the main tank. The approach vector angles to the seam line where steel flexes under load. Impact. A copper jet darts through the wall and sprays into the liquid. A half heartbeat later, target 2 hits the substation. Transformers jump, breakers trip, pumps die. Lines that would feed foam and water lose power. In the same breath, target 3 slams the chemical storage. Additive drums and blend piping flash into fragmented debris. The separation from first hit to last is 1.2 seconds, tight enough that suppression and switchovers never get a chance to spin up. Kasuka 4 keeps blasting, but the reactions now feed gaps instead of seals. Guns track the decoys still weaving. Missile crews reload on a clock that no longer matters. The defended complex stays dark while heat blooms climb. Operators in Kiev watch alarms stack with no corrective action. The route out is cleaner than the route in, and the feed settles into silence broken only by telemetry pings. From a jamming shock to a synchronized triad of hits, the sequence turns a strong defense into a fireball and a blackout. With the plant offline and the blaze multiplying, the stalled sorties, rationed fuel, and week 3 aircraft crunch you saw earlier stop being theory and start being an outcome. Logistics decides who flies tomorrow. A 1.2-second window decided who did not. That's the lesson the sortie board recorded in red. A single choke point turned layered defenses into noise and left wings idle, and the cascade didn't wait for a second attempt. So here's the question. If one node can stall an air district, which one matters next? Power to the pumps, rail reloads at junction yards, or specialized storage that keeps the blend viable? If you were the commander of this drone swarm, what would you have targeted next? Subscribe for deep dives into swarm tactics and air defense economics, and tell us which target class to unpack.